school, Shannon, said it was insane. But to be fair, he was going through a lot at home, but she doesn't know how much of it is true anymore. Shannon said that Todd would cry about being dragged to these fancy dinner parties at these rich people's homes. And his parents would be like, okay, now you stay in the car because you're going to embarrass us. And he would remember sitting in the car starving, his stomach grumbling, and he just felt so utterly rejected by his parents. So he starts finding a way to feel a sense of belonging, a sense of community. Which, side note, eventually the family does move to Oregon, so just keep that in mind, okay? Now, later, with Shannon's brother, so his best friend's brother, Colin, Todd decides to start a band. He's like, 16 at the...
Ramble.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Welcome to this week's mini-sode of Rotten Mango. I'm your host, Stephanie Sue. Welcome to the world of chaos. Players, please abide by the rules or there will be strict consequences. Rule number 1, there are no rules. And remember, rule number 2, chaos rules the world. Look, games are supposed to be fun, okay? They're supposed to have rewards, consequences, emotions, drama, peaks, lows. But what if real lives are at stake in a game? Like, you die in a game, you die in real life. It sounds like one of those sci-fi movies, but in this game, friends would get together and they would play for their lives. An ex-cop, an ex-Marines Navy SEAL, and a member of the company.
That's what, 3 people?
Yeah. The company is filled with ex-CIA operatives, and they would all get together on their off days, and they would try to gain real-life experiences and challenges by risking their lives. It's a pretty violent game. The rules were that there are no rules. You drive around trying to find the target for that week's mission. Players are running each other off the road. Shots are fired. You could have weapons at your disposal. You can't even call the cops. It was terrifying. But the most terrifying part is that the games would end with someone dead. As always, full show notes are available at RottenMangoPodcast.com, but there is a deep dive book on this case called Kill or Be Killed by Robert Scott. It was a really thorough look into this case, I'm going to be honest, or at least as thorough as it gets out there. There's not that much information. I mean, I looked high and low. It's just a very scattered case. The author interviewed friends of the people involved as well as, a few of those people that were directly involved, and it's just a lot to get through. I highly recommend checking it out if you want to further look into this, and with that being said, let's get into it. The letters were all connected. The letters are what brought them together. Dean was sitting in the office when the email came in. So this is his letter. He started glancing around nervously. His breath was shallow. He tried to keep it casual, and he hurriedly clicked away from the screen. What did the email mean? I mean, it was anonymous, but it read, "Someone's not playing nice. Stealing money is a crime. Want to make a deal?" Not too far away, another man had a message in his hands. Norman's letter. It came from a big official package that had "Newbie Recruit, Patriot Recruiter," written in big block letters. It was sealed with wax, and inside there were multiple documents. But more importantly, there were pictures. Pictures of the same woman. One of them, she's, wearing all black, looking over her shoulder at the photographer. In another one, she's in the woods near a stream. Another one, she's on stage, performing a song. Her face is circled in yellow, and everyone else's faces are crossed out. Norman was shaking when he opened the other documents. It said TO. That meant target of opportunity. And then WO, 28th of April till May the 20th. Window of opportunity. And the final line, "If you don't complete this mission, you will be terminated." Norman understood what that meant. That if he doesn't kill this woman, he will be killed instead. His best friend Todd, his colleague, was standing next to him, and he's like, "You okay? What's wrong, Norman? What are the instructions for this game? What's going on?" They want me to kill your wife."
Wow.
Let's talk about the half-truths of Todd. Todd was a young kid when he accidentally set his clothes on fire. He was alone in the living room and he full-on panicked. He didn't know what to do. I mean, think about it. Your clothes are freaking on fire. You're like, 7 years old?
Wait, Todd is who?
Todd is the best friend whose wife's pictures are in the envelope.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And Todd was alone in the living room, didn't know what to do. He could, if he waited longer, if he just stood in fear, if he froze, he would have burnt to a crisp and most likely taken the whole house down with him. But he had a big brain, okay? Even as a kid. So he wrapped himself around the heavy curtains in the living room to smother out the flames. And when his mom found out, she was shocked. She was shocked that he had ruined her curtains. Todd felt really upset by this. I mean, she could be happy and proud that he was intelligent enough to act quickly on his feet. I mean, look at the other kids. They're bozos. They would have cried and burst into flames like a fireworks display. But not me, Mom. Not me. He felt upset that his mom didn't acknowledge that, and she didn't even seem concerned about his wounds. Now, this was a half-truth. The whole event was probably grossly exaggerated or not true at all, right? But the truth is, Todd felt invalidated by his mother. He felt like she didn't ever care for her.
So he set the fire?
We don't know. We don't even know if there was a fire. Here's another half-truth. When Todd was 8 years old, his older brother was 11, and their uncle gave them these whips as presents. Yeah, okay, it's weird. I mean, does it make it any better that they're bull whips? The really long whips that you would hit like a, I guess a bullwhin. I don't know. So they're playing around with it, and Todd somehow manages to whip his older brother, so scared until the older brother hides underneath the bed to get away from Todd. And Todd is loving it. He could keep his brother indefinitely under the bed by whipping down at the ground near the bed anytime he attempted to get out from under. The thrill, the rush of power, oh, that was some good stuff. It was insatiable. He realized this is the shit that politicians are after. It feels good. Power is like a drug. He did this for a really long time. Just whip, 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 before his older brother's fear turned into anger. And he starts screaming, "Todd, you little piece of shit, the minute that I get out here, I'm gonna beat you up. You won't be able to see out of your left fucking eye." And that scared Todd. And he felt like, oh my God, the only way to avoid the beating of my life is to keep him under the bed. And instead of feeling powerful by keeping his brother under the bed, he felt impending doom as he continued to whip down at the ground so his brother couldn't get out. But he too had tears streaming down his face. Todd's thrill of power had turned into outright fear of retaliation. He knew full well the longer he kept control, the longer he kept the power, the worse his beating would be. But he was so afraid of the beating that he couldn't stop whipping to let his brother out. He was trapped in a position of power.
That's so deep.
Yeah, and he was too scared to let go of it.
Ooh, is that how people in power feels today?
I think so.
Wow.
And because Todd started wailing, howling hysterically at this point, he's the one whipping at the ground, by the way. The father rushes into the room. He sees Todd with the whip, the older brother under the bed. I mean, I'm putting two and two together as a parent. He decides, I'm going to teach you guys a lesson. I'm going to let be and let live. He let Todd get beat up by his older brother. That was Todd's lesson. Now, we don't know if this story is true, but we do know that there is a half-truth to it, is that Todd always felt abandoned by his dad. He felt like his dad was never around to protect him when he needed it most. He just let his older brother beat him. Those who knew Todd said that these stories all had half-truths in them, and the truth was, Todd felt abandoned by his family, and it was a big deal for him. So Todd Jesse Garton was a liar since the day he was born. There's not really a definitive picture of his childhood. It really changes a lot depending on who you ask, but it is accepted that he grew up in this upper middle class family in Northern California, and according to his mom, he was this really bright, articulate young boy who just had a way with his words, but he wasted all of his words on lies. Like, this kid loved to lie. It was impossible to tell when this guy was lying or not. He was a true pathological liar at heart. His best friend from high school, Shannon, said it was insane. But you know, to be fair, he was going through a lot at home, but she doesn't know how much of it is true anymore. Shannon said that Todd would cry about being dragged to these fancy dinner parties at these rich people's homes. And his parents would be like, okay, now you stay in the car because you're going to embarrass us. And he would remember sitting in the car starving, his stomach grumbling, and he just felt so utterly rejected by his parents. So he starts finding a way to feel a sense of belonging, a sense of community. Which, side note, eventually the family does move to Oregon, so just keep that in mind, okay? Now, later, with Shannon's brother, so his best friend's brother, Colin, Todd decides to start a band. He's like, 16 at the time? He's in high school. Colin plays the drums, Todd the bass, and together they were called Detente Touch. Todd was the driving force behind the band. He was way more into it than Colin was. I mean, don't get me wrong, Colin loved the freaking band, but Todd was out there making promotional flyers and spreading them to all the nearby clubs and bars. And it's like, you're a high school band, bro. He even told Colin, this is not good enough. We're not getting booked. We need more band members. This is not a two-man show. I'm writing the songs, you're drumming away. I get it, but we need a lead female singer. Someone to bring the boys to the club. Todd was impatient. He just called up one of his old friends and was like, hey, do you want to be in my band? Her name was Carol, but she would go by Ursula in the band. She played the bass. She was pretty good at singing, so she took on the role as the lead singer of the band, and she was beautiful. So that didn't hurt. And it was pretty clear from the get-go that Todd and Carol had some thick chemistry. Okay, like when they played, they would just look into each other's eyes and they would glance at each other or stare into each other's souls. It was like a high school coming of age all in one. And it wasn't long before Todd added another guitarist, Kenny, to the group. Now, Détente Touch was complete. They started handing out flyers with blurbs about themselves. Yeah, do you know how awkward it is to write a blurb about yourself? I did it once and I'll never do it again. Okay. Because you have to write in third person and you have to act like you're not the one writing it about yourself. So Carol, Ursula, she wrote about herself. Ursula is every mother's nightmare and every schoolboy's nightmare. Domination is her game. Ursula loves to wield the power of controlling the amount of pain or pleasure that man, woman, or child can sustain. However, her true belief is that all things have a right to be. Ursula always speaks her mind, but she prefers to sing it. Ooh, lead singer vibes. Okay, you know what? It's not bad. I like the intrigue. I would be fascinated. Then Kenny, the guitarist, wrote, Ken is a different breed. Secluded, but not impersonal. He's willing to share a lot with most any female who will get close enough. Guitar is second nature to this playboy. Everyone finds it difficult to pry it from his hands. Spicy. Colin the drummer said, life through his eyes is only seen one day at a time. Colin believes a handshake is the only gentleman's agreement. And now, Todd, the leader of the band, he wrote this about himself, okay? Todd is like a godlike creature. If you have any doubts about him, feel free to ask. Bass player extraordinaire and spokesman for the band. Don't ask him for his opinion, because he'll tell you. His quick wit and sharp tongue will always keep you guessing. I'm gonna die. And with that, Shannon was on the sound system operator and the band was ready to go. And Todd was willing to take a lot of risky bets with this band. I need to give you some background on this guy, okay? So basically, Todd's dad was a compulsive gambler. He would win a lot of money or make a bonus at work, and immediately he would gamble it away. Todd resented this guy so much for it. He's like, this dad is the most horrible dad. Like, my life would have been different if he didn't do this. And he refused to partake in any of these addictions because he felt like he would be just as, quote, bad as his dad. So he never smoked, drank, did any kinds of drugs. He never even drank black coffee, like no coffee. I think a part of him was scared that he had an addictive personality like his father. So he stayed away from anything. But unfortunately, Todd was a compulsive liar, which, side note, pathological compulsive liars tell more than 10 lies a day. And these are not like, oh, no, I swear you look good, Chad. No, Chad, seriously, you don't look like a Chad. You look smart. Like, not these kinds of lies. I'm talking big lies. Yeah, 10 a day. How is that not super exhausting? Now, that doesn't mean that they're all killers or, anything like that. Pathological lying will damage interpersonal relationships, but it's generally harmless in terms of, life or death. But Todd was a special case because he was a compulsive gambler. He just didn't know it. He never bet money on races, casinos, or anything like that you would associate with gambling. But he was addicted to risk, which is what gamblers are addicted to. Everything he did was a risk of some sort. And a lot of them, the risk cost benefit didn't even make sense. Shannon said that addiction to risk destroyed Todd in the end. You're like, how? She said, and I quote, this is his best friend, so these are some high compliments she's dissing out. She said, the reason this eventually destroyed him was because Todd was a genius. I mean, I had immense respect for his intellect, but because he was so exceptionally intelligent, he always won every time he gambled on something. And this, of course, defeats the purpose of a gambling addiction because you want the highs and lows. This kept him in a perpetual state of frustration in which he would have to come up with weird ways to unconsciously sabotage himself so that he could start over with a new risk.
What? She's saying that he win too much, so he self-sabotage?
Yeah. Listen, I get it, but not really. Not because I don't think that people do this, but Todd was not that smart. I really just think that he had a lucky streak, if I'm being honest. So Todd starts making some big risks with the band. He starts booking shows multiple states away. Then he would insist that they sneak out of their parents' house, take a broken down car multiple states away to go to the show that he just booked. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Like, none of them, nobody had to do that. They could have just rented a car. They could have just told their parents, but he loved the risk. And even though the band started making money, Todd is like, no, I think we should make some risky changes. Let's be edgier with the marketing. So he wrote about his band like this. This band leads you through political strife, suicide, apartheid, war, and inhumanity, yet with sexual overtones that will keep you moving, dancing, and cheering. So he starts getting really political. He starts getting obsessed with violence, and it's clear in his music. In one word, the combination of politics and violence is just war. The guy was obsessed with war. And his way of marketing was controversial, but also kind of successful. Like, he took a risky gamble and it worked. His bandmate said this about him. Todd is like the idea guy. 99% of the ideas he had were bullshit, but there was like 1% that were just a real gem. Todd would bring in these ideas, give them substance, bring some order out of the chaos. And I'm going to be real, Todd was not modest. He would take credit for what he accomplished, but you know what? Hey, he deserved it. We pretty much let him have his way with the band because he was good at selling us. He was good at selling himself. We believed that he could sell a refrigerator to Samsung. Okay, I changed that because they used a different word, which happens to be a slur. So, Samsung. Todd was good at having this infectious excitement, though. He would market an idea, get excited, and by default, his bandmates would get excited, and everyone around him just got so freaking excited. But eventually, the fun wore out. There was no more challenge with the band. They were getting popular, and there was no risk in being universally liked. So he starts switching their concept from punk rock to gangster rap. Okay, that's what they called it, gangster rap, with no ER. Like, it was just gangsta.
So you're saying that as they're growing bigger and bigger,
yeah.
It's like, I have to make it more edgy now.
Yeah, but it's not even on the same track. Like, you would imagine that if you're getting traction in one niche, you would stay or double down on that niche. But he was like, no.
So he's not chasing the success. He's chasing something else.
Yeah. Like some hardship and risk or something. He was just obsessed, okay? And he started digging his heels into anything political and violent, and he was obsessed with the troubles of Northern Ireland. You're like, what? Okay, so this is happening in America, but we did a whole episode on this, on the troubles. Episode 132, The Sisters of Terror. It was this huge conflict in Northern Ireland that lasted about 30 years. Tensions were rising from the Protestant Unionists, the Loyalists as they were called, and then the overwhelming Roman Catholic nationalists who were Republicans. I mean, it was a lot of fighting, okay? Half of them wanted Northern Ireland to break free from the UK and unite with the rest of Ireland. Things just got very, very bloody and incredibly violent. And Todd loved the violence and he loved the politics because, I think Todd really likened himself an intelligent man. I don't think that he's smart, but I think he liked to think that he was smart. Mm-hmm. And so regular violence to him is caveman. It's disgusting. There's no point. But when you add politics, suddenly he feels like it's violence with a purpose. It's violence with a cause, and he likes it. But in reality, he just likes violence. Todd loved the gore. And in Portland, where they were getting booked a lot, politics was a hot subject. So Todd starts hearing about all these horror stories from immigrants from Northern Ireland that had lived through the Troubles. And Todd would later say that he was super sympathetic to everything going on. And he got so riled up, you know how it is. You just get so riled up that you just start making stories up and telling people that you fought in Northern Ireland. You know how that happens. You ever met like a veteran? You're like, oh my God, this story moved me so much. I'm going to go tell everyone I fought in the Vietnam War. Like, what? What are you saying? This is so confusing. So he said when he was, because mind you, he's like 16, 17. Okay, he's in high school when he's saying this. He's like, when I was 12 years old, I stole my parents' credit card because I wanted to fly to Belfast, to Northern Ireland. And I had read so much about it and I just wanted to see what was going on. How he got on the plane, I don't know. He's like, then I flew and I fought in the conflicts in Ireland for about a year. Before I realized, where I was and what I was doing, and I realized that I was making a massive mistake, I had to get home. But, getting home during war times is a completely another scary challenge, right? And everyone's like, right. And they believed him because this is high school. I mean, there's CIA operatives in every high school, right? And no, Kevin is not dating 3 girls at one time. There's just so much going on, right? He stuck with this story for years, even after high school. He also had a Celtic cross tattooed on his chest, which is not unique to Northern Ireland, but it is traditionally used in Ireland as a religious symbol. And Todd claimed that he got it overseas in Ireland while helping the junior members of the IRA. But more likely, he just got it in a random tattoo shop in Portland. And slowly But surely Todd's lies start getting out of hand. I mean, how do you go from that crazy tale of fighting in the Troubles in Northern Ireland to just lying about speeding 5 over the limit someday? Or like, oh, I got hit on at Starbucks. He needs more thrill. He needs bigger lies. So his lies start getting wilder. He starts talking about how he had been paid to kill 2 men in Portland, aka he was a hired hitman, and he followed through on it. He said that he found these men, kidnapped them, bound their arms and legs together, hog-tied them, and then decapitated them. People are like, oh my God, when did you do that? That's crazy. He's like, last year when I was 16. It was wild. They were really bad men though, because I threw their bodies in the river. But honestly, I did the world a favor. That's the only reason I was okay with killing them. Fewer people are going to get hurt because I killed them. I did it in a professional way though, and I got paid, which by the way, it's super easy money. It's so easy to just set up an LLC and create your own assassination company.
I mean, people is not really believing this, right?
They are. Oh. Yeah. You're like, what? Not in my high school. You would get bullied, okay? And he's like, but obviously we won't kill people. It's too much risk. I don't really like the admin aspect of it. It's too much administration work. Wait, what? You want to set up an LLC, Todd? Yeah, so we set up a 1-800 number under an LLC, and then you just start making an income. People will hire us, and we don't actually kill anyone, but who are they going to complain to once they give us the money? Surely not the police.
So he's saying he's scamming people.
Yeah. Thankfully, none of his friends set up an S-Corp with him, but the idea was out there, floating around in Todd's brain cell-less mind. But the only one that really, really believed him, that really admired him, because everyone, they kind of believed him, but they were like, that's a little weird. I don't know how to feel about it. But there was this girl in high school who was obsessed. Her name was Lynn. Let's talk about Lynn. She's an interesting character, and I don't mean that with a lot of respect. Lynn was 16 at the time, and she was obsessed with Todd. They met in high school, and she said she could even remember the day that she first laid eyes on Todd. I was standing by my locker with 4 of my real close friends. And there was a rumor going around about a new guy that just transferred from California to Portland. And none of us had seen him yet, so we were just standing in the hall and just talking about him. And I remember looking over, and he was walking down the hallway like a movie scene. Lynn begged her friends to introduce her to Todd. They had all just met Todd. And from that moment, when she found out that he was also part of a band, that sealed the motherfucking deal. She was hooked. Lynn had always been into music, and she loved a good bad boy. She was straight up infatuated with Todd. She said, he sang, he wrote songs, he played instruments, he did everything. Oh my God, our first time together was magical. And every time afterwards, wild. Talking about sex.
Oh, wow.
Lynn admitted to even having sex with Todd in a motel hot tub after band practice. And there was a rumor that was unproven, but whispers of a rumor, that another couple joined them later on for a foursome. But as infatuated as Lynn was, she was also seeing someone else on the side. So she was sleeping with her best friend Natalia on the side. And she said that the two of them, they had a lot of sexual tension, so they had a sexual relationship. Listen, I don't know how Todd felt about the sexual relationship between Lynn and her best friend. I don't know if he knew, but I do know that he knew that her heart belonged to him. Even Lynn would be the first to admit that she was enamored by this guy. She felt even closer to him the more and more they got to know each other. She sat there batting her eyes up at him with shock and awe as he talked about his battles in Northern Ireland. He even showed her the tattoo he had on his chest, and he knew so much about the history, Irish history, the Troubles, just history in general. And the fact that they're in high school, Lynn believed him. When Todd told her that he could make Molotov cocktail explosions, Lynn had no reason to not believe him. And then one day he came up to her in the hallway and was like, you got to keep this book for me. Shh, you have to keep it, hide it. I can't risk them finding it in my room. You're like, what book? Twilight? No, I'm kidding. Okay. It was called The Anarchist Cookbook, which is basically a book filled with ways to kill people and make bombs. The book itself is satire. The Anarchist Cookbook. The ways of killing people are kind of really bizarre and out there that it's not really feasible without getting caught a million times. But Lynn was like, oh my God, that makes sense. Like, why would he need a killing manual if he's not a real assassin? Yeah, because the CIA gives out killing manuals. Oh my God, they probably do. I don't know, Lynn. Use your brain. Maybe it's the same reason I have 25 self-help books and cookbooks, okay? Waiting to be read. But you don't see me over here cooking my own recipes. So inside the book, Todd had placed the little articles about Ireland, about the conflicts in some of the pages, like wedged between. And, he's like, wow. he's really part of this whole Ireland thing. Like, they're gonna come kidnap him. He's like too pivotal in the whole troubles. He's like a key character. That's what she's thinking. To add to the insane believability of this story, Todd showed her an article with a man whose face was kind of blurry in the middle of an armed conflict, and he was like, that was me. That was me. He also talked passionately about how the kids in Ireland weren't all right because they had grown up around bloodshed and the constant fear of being caught in the crossfires of war. They were not all right. I mean, valid, but what's going on? And surprisingly, there were references to other rock music in the book. He loved the rock band U2. Everyone knows U2. A lot of younger people know that because all the U2 songs were in the Apple products.
Oh my
right,
goodness.
when you buy them, yeah.
It's
Lynn was in so much awe of Todd that she started listening to U2 and reading any books, thrillers, stories of espionage, things that she thought that Todd would be interested in that would remind him of his adventures in Northern Ireland. So basically anything violence and war related, she was like, oh my God, that like reminds me of my boyfriend. She even went downtown to look for jewelry, and she found these 2 Celtic crosses and thought, maybe he'll like me if I wear a cross. So she bought 2 matching ones of them, gave one to Todd, and wore one for a really long time. Like, I'm talking decades. And even that wasn't enough. She wanted more. One day, she took a razor blade, carved a heart into the flesh of her upper thighs, and carved the letter T in the middle. T for Todd. And it's not like Lynn's devotion and love-bombing infatuation was one-sided. Todd reciprocated. I mean, he didn't do anything permanent, like carving into his own body, but he did give her a nickname. Listen, it definitely was not an equal relationship. But anyway, he gave her a nickname called Maliki, and he said it came from the Bible and also ancient Irish myth, and it meant angel. But neither in the Bible nor in Irish myth was there a Maliki that refers to an angel. There are other Maliki references in other religions, but I don't think they straight up mean angel. So whether Todd knew that and didn't care to fact check before he did, or he just thought it sounded cool and gave it a random meaning, I don't know. But Lynn never checked it out. She just went with it. It sounded romantic. That's all that mattered to her. Their relationship was intense, but it was somewhat short-lived. It fizzled off because Lynn got suspended from school, and it was hard for Todd to see her all the time because she was no longer in the hallways. And, you know, when you're in high school, out of sight, out of mind.
Out of hallway, out of mind.
Yes. And he was spending a lot of time with another girl anyway, Carol Holman. So this is a very different Carol from the lead singer of the band. There's 2 Carols in this story. This Carol is going to be very important. Carol was the baby of 3 sons in the Holman family, so they were really protective of her. I mean, she was clearly the baby of the family, the daughter of the family, and honestly, she got along with her family. Like, they all loved her. They were all super tight. She would draw, make up songs since she was just 2 years old. She was always like this curious kid. She was just fascinated by the world around her. Everything that had to do with outdoors or sports, she was involved. She loved it. Sometimes Carol refused to get out of the bath until her fingers were beyond pruny because for some reason she just loved water. And then tragedy hit when she was 17 and her parents decided to get a divorce. And it really affected her. She was used to this tight-knit family, and now it just felt like everything was going to change. Everything was going to fall apart. She started acting out, skipping classes, staying out late, getting more and more rebellious. She joined a band. Yeah, that's when Todd's attention went from Carol to Lynn and back to a different Carol. People said it's no brainer why Todd was attracted to Carol. And I quote, Carol was very generous. She was built like a fertility goddess. Yeah, her eyes were huge. She had these amazing lashes that were so thick, and she had these full lips, and she was curvy. She had a very healthy sexiness about her. She was very loyal and supportive. I think a lot of guys wanted to take her away from Todd. I would hear random boys saying to each other, she's too good for that jerk. But Carol was in love. What could you do? The only difference is that Carol and Lynn were not the same. Lynn swallowed every single lie Todd told without question. But according to those who knew Carol well, she was the only one that could see right through Todd's bullshit. But she didn't hate it. It just kind of amused her. That he was able to trick so many people, that he was so the audacity of this guy. I mean, it was just kind of funny to see how far he would go with his outrageous lies. There was no shy side to him. And whenever he tried to lie to her, she would call him out on it, and she thought it was kind of funny watching his reaction, getting called out. I think it frustrated him that he couldn't get past one on Carol. So you're like, what? Why does she even like this guy? I think when you're young, maybe you see the excitement in things and people, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think she really liked his style, his charisma. He did have leadership abilities. He was like the leader of every friend group that he walked into. She also bonded with him. Carol even moved into their band house. It was like a hype house situation. A group of 6 teenagers and young adults living and creating music together and having fun. And like the hype house, for a while it was just nonstop controversy, just nonstop chaos. People were in and out of the house, high on drugs, partying. Todd relished in the drama. The constant scandal or crime that was waiting to erupt, he loved it. He got off on it. Carol just tolerated it. Her parents hated it. And so did Lynn. You're like, wait, Lynn? Okay, so Lynn's coming back. She's not going anywhere for decades. So Lynn's going to be a part of this story. Lynn hated this hype house situation. She didn't blame Todd, though. She felt like Carol was the homewrecker. The guys in the band said this about her. Lynn was kind of a bubblehead. Like, there was nothing upstairs. I mean, she was obsessed with Todd. She was a hanger-on, a groupie. I think that Todd just tolerated her. She started coming to all of our band practices. Nobody wanted her there. Everybody wished that she would just go away. Todd and Carol were now obviously an item. They lived together, but Lynn would just hang out. I mean, she wasn't even part of the creative process. Carol, she was taking initiative and she had some talent, Nobody even gave Lynn the time of day, but I think Todd was taking advantage of her. She would make up these stupid excuses to be there. Like, she would come with a stupid problem that only Todd could solve, and it was just all bullshit. She just wanted to be around him. I think it probably was hard on Carol. Because Carol and Lynn, they really didn't like each other. But Todd would never ask Lynn to go away. So this guy clearly thrived on attention. And what better attention is there than having 2 girls swooning over you? But when Carol got pregnant, everything changed. Todd's whole energy changed. He was ready to drop Lynn like a fly. But it was a traumatic incident. Carol had an ectopic pregnancy. She was super, super sick. They had to remove an abnormal growth inside of her to save her life. And it was really scary. The pregnancy was not viable, and this changed Carol. A lot of bandmates said that she was no longer just a regular high schooler. She was more mature, more serious, emotionally and everything afterwards. She grew from this experience. But Todd, he was falling apart. The band was falling apart. His relationship was everything was falling apart. He asked Carol to move in with him and his parents to make sure that she didn't go anywhere. And Todd was just really upset with where his life was going. And he was taking it out on her. And you're like, why the hell was he mad? Todd was mad that he wasn't rich. Todd really hated rich people. And I'm not saying it in like the Gen Z hates rich people. He's not like, eat the rich billionaires who exploit workers. Eat the rich big corporations that are killing the planet. He's like, fuck my middle upper class neighbor who drives a Camaro.
What?
Yeah, because he wasn't upset that they were rich and that money is corruption. He was upset because he wasn't rich and he felt like anyone around him who was rich was just obnoxiously showing off their wealth.
So he just hate anyone who's doing better than him.
Yeah, precisely. It had nothing to do with any sort of social, dilemma or conversation. He would go around the neighborhood at night shooting at new cars parked in driveways because he was so bothered that people could afford new cars and that he couldn't. He felt like these people purposely bought these new cars to piss him off, to rub it in his face that they were richer than him. So, it's safe to say that this guy is pretty lost at this point. So after high school, Todd decides, let me join the Marines then, right? And he's still stringing along Carol and Lynn, so the both of them are like, yeah, we're going to wait for you to get out. He goes back to California for the Marines, and I believe, Carol goes with him. Lynn stays in Portland, which, side note about the Marines, Todd was in the Marines for exactly a year and 23 days, which is not that long if I'm being honest. He was never a lieutenant, nor did he receive a Purple Heart